Look at that white ceramic mug sitting right next to your keyboard. It has been there for 3 hours, and the surface of the coffee has developed that thin, oily film that only happens when a drink is completely forgotten. We have spent the afternoon staring at a glowing cursor, adjusting margins and answering emails that probably could have waited until tomorrow. Our shoulders are hiked up toward our ears, and our eyes feel like they have been scrubbed with dry sand. We do this because we believe the next milestone will finally let us lean back and exhale. But that is the trick. Success is not the deep breath at the end of the race. It is the thing that gradually teaches us how to survive on less and less air, until we have forgotten the rhythm of our own lungs. We keep chasing the heat of the next win, while the actual life we are living sits right in front of us, getting colder and more bitter. That lukewarm cup on your desk is not just a drink you missed. It is the symbol of every moment we have put on hold, a quiet witness to the way we trade our breath for a shadow. The light outside has shifted to that pale, hazy gold that makes everything look a bit tired. A distant siren wails somewhere 2 blocks over, and the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen suddenly feels loud enough to fill the entire room. We reach up to rub the bridge of our nose, feeling the slight oiliness of our skin and the way our glasses have left those tiny red dents on our face. We look at the clock and realize it's only 2:14 p.m. This is the hour when the momentum stalls. We sit there, clicking a pen or tapping a fingernail against the wood of the desk, watching the way the shadows have stretched across the floor. In this stillness, a small, cold question starts to ripple through us. We wonder if the mountain of tasks we've built is actually a monument to something meaningful, or if we are just moving piles of dirt from one side of the yard to the other. It isn't a loud panic, it is just a quiet hollow in the chest. We look at our hands and realize we have been gripping our own lives so tightly that we've forgotten what we were trying to hold on to in the first place. We reach for the phone, the glass screen cool and slightly smudged with a fingerprint we don't bother to wipe away. There is a stack of mail on the corner of the table, mostly envelopes with plastic windows and flyers for things we don't need. We run a finger along the edge of the wood, feeling a small splinter or a dent we never noticed before. We tell ourselves we are falling behind, that the heavy sinking feeling is a knack of inadequacy. But we have to look closer at the tools we've been using to measure our days. That heavy, sinking feeling isn't a lack of character. It's the friction of trying to fit our breathing, living selves into a blueprint designed for a machine. We were handed instructions before we even knew how to speak, told our value was something to be earned through a series of checkpoints and gold stars. We aren't lost because we lack direction. We are simply exhausted from trying to follow a map drawn by people who were just as afraid as we are. The guilt we carry is not a compass. It is just an old, heavy coat we were told we had to wear, even when the sun is out and the air is warm. The room is still quiet, that pale gray light of early morning just starting to touch the edges of the curtains. We feel the weight of the duvet, the way the fabric is a little tangled around our ankles. Before our feet even touch the cold floor, our hand finds the phone on the nightstand. It is an instinct now, a reflex as natural as blinking. The screen is cold against our palm, and the glass is smooth. We swipe, we tap, and suddenly the stillness of the bedroom is gone. There is a notification from 3 hours ago, an email about a project, a ping from a group chat. We squint against the glare, our thumbs scrolling through a list of demands we didn't sign up for yet.
We are lying there, still warm from sleep, but our mind is already miles away, sitting at a desk or arguing a point. We haven't even tasted the morning air, but we have already let the world decide what our mood should be. This is the exact moment we give it away. We let the steering wheel go before we have even started the engine. We think we are catching up, but we are actually just letting ourselves be pulled along by a current that doesn't care where it drops us. We have turned our most private moment into a waiting room for everyone else's needs. By the time we finally stand up to reach for a glass of water, we aren't walking into our own day anymore. We are just reporting for duty. The air in the conference room is thin, recycled by a machine we can hear humming in the ceiling. We are sitting around a long table made of polished veneer that feels slightly sticky under our forearms. Someone is clicking a retractable pen 4 times, then a pause, then 4 times again. On the wall, a projector throws a bright, jagged line across a white screen, showing us a future made of percentages and quarterly growth. We nod when everyone else nods. We take a sip of water that has gone lukewarm in its plastic bottle, the label peeling slightly at the edges. Just past the presenter's shoulder, there is a large window. The sky is turning a bruised purple, with a thin ribbon of gold stretching across the horizon as the sun begins to drop behind the buildings. It is the kind of light that makes the world look temporary and beautiful. But we keep our eyes on the graph. We focus on the numbers because they are easier to measure than the quiet ache of a day we didn't actually live. Later, we stand in the restroom, the floor tiles cold beneath our shoes, and the overhead light far too white. We lean over the porcelain sink and catch our own eyes in the mirror. There we are. Our skin looks a little pale under the LEDs, and there is a faint shadow of fatigue settled into the corners of our mouth. We see the exhaustion, the quiet hollow where our curiosity used to be. And then, out of habit, we pull our lips back to a small, polite smile to see if it still looks convincing. We practice the face we need to wear for the walk back to the car. It is a strange thing, looking at ourselves and realizing we have become a very efficient stranger. We have spent the whole day looking at the progress of a company, but we haven't looked at ourselves in months.
The kettle started with a low vibrating hum that slowly built into a sharp hiss, rattling the metal lid just enough to notice. We reach for the ceramic mug, the one with the small tea stain at the bottom that never quite washes away, and we feel the cool glazed surface against our fingers. We pour the coffee, watching the dark liquid swirl and the white steam rise in thin, curling ghosts that vanish before they reach the ceiling. Usually, this is where we turn away. We leave the mug on the counter to grow a thin film of cold oil while we hunt for our keys or scroll through a feed of people we don't know. But tomorrow, we are going to stay. We will take that mug to the chair by the window, the one where the sunlight hits the floorboards in a pale, dusty rectangle. We will sit down and feel the weight of our own bodies pressing into the cushion. We will hold the heat against our palms until our skin turns a faint pink, and we will take a sip while the liquid is still hot enough to demand our full attention. We have spent so much time being a resource for someone else's growth that we have forgotten how to inhabit our own minutes. There is a quiet, stubborn power in refusing to be productive for 300 seconds. We don't need to solve a problem or plan a year. We just need to taste the bitterness of the roast and feel the steam dampen our faces.
We spend our lives waiting for the big moments to start, but life is actually what happens in the heat of a cup before it reaches the bottom. We will sit there, we will breathe, and for 5 minutes we will finally be the person we've been practicing to meet in the mirror. We tighten the laces on our sneakers until the pressure feels like a firm, reassuring hug around our arches. We check the time on a watch that ticks with a small metallic pulse, a sound so quiet we only hear it when the house is still. We find the old wooden ladder in the garage, the one with the dried paint drips on the third rung, and we drag it out into the yard. The grass flattens under its weight, and the air smells like damp earth and cut stalks. We lean it against the bricks, hearing the dull thud as it makes contact, and we begin to climb. Our muscles tighten with each step, and we focus on the rhythm of our own breathing. But nature has a cold, honest math that we often try to ignore. We cannot fold the afternoon into a drawer to use next Tuesday when we are feeling more inspired. Time is the only thing we own that evaporates the moment we touch it. We spend so much energy perfecting the climb, making sure our grip is tight and our pace is steady, that we forget to look up at the edge of the roof. If the ladder is leaning against a wall that leads nowhere we want to be, then every drop of sweat we shed is just a frantic payment for a destination that won't hold us. It is better to stand on the grass, breathing in the scent of the garden, than to reach the top of a height that makes us feel even more alone. I remember the coffee was still lukewarm in a white ceramic mug on my desk when the room started to blur. The fluorescent lights overhead hummed a low electric buzz that I had ignored for 2 decades. I was focused on a spreadsheet, cell B14, a number that seemed so vital it deserved my entire soul. Then, at 52, the rhythm in my chest simply quit. It did not explode, it just stopped, like a machine that had reached its final hour. Later, I found myself staring at the texture of a hospital ceiling, counting the tiny holes in the acoustic tiles. The air smelled of industrial lemon and cold metal. My phone sat on the bedside table, vibrating with notifications about quarterly projections and missed deadlines. We spend our lives polishing these glass towers of data, making sure every decimal point is a soldier standing at attention. We think we are building a legacy out of paper and ink, but the world does not need another perfect financial report. It is already overflowing with spreadsheets that balance to the penny. What it is actually starving for is the person who was supposed to be living inside those numbers. It does not need our flawless performance. It needs our breath, our gaze, and our quiet, uncomplicated presence. Tomorrow morning, the alarm will still go off at 6:45 a.m. You will feel the weight of the duvet, hear the muffled sound of a car starting down the street, and see the blue light of your phone reminding you that the internet bill is due by midnight. We will still have to stand at the sink, scrubbing the dried oatmeal from the bottom of a bowl, and we will still have to navigate the crowded subway where the air feels thick with other people's exhaustion. The spreadsheets we abandoned will be waiting exactly where we left them, their columns demanding our attention. But as we sit at our desks, we might notice the way the light hits a stray paperclip, or the specific rhythmic tap of our own fingers on the keyboard. We are still doing the chores, still answering the calls, and still balancing the ledger, but the invisible collar around our necks has snapped. We are no longer sprinting towards a finish line that moves 10 feet further away every time we get close. We will pay what we owe and do what is required, yet we will do it with the quiet pulse of someone who knows that time is a tool we use, not a master that owns us. We are finally breathing in the space between the seconds. Reach for your phone. It is resting on the wooden table, right next to a stack of mail and a pen that ran out of ink days ago. We don't need to wait for a milestone or for the house to be perfectly quiet to make this call. We just need to slide a thumb across the glass and find the name we have been avoiding because we felt too busy. We can hear the low hum of the refrigerator and the sound of a car door slamming somewhere down the street. We often tell ourselves we'll reach out once we have better news or when the work is finally caught up, but that version of Tuesday never actually comes. We are choosing to be heard right now, in the middle of the laundry and the unwashed dishes, with our voices still thick from the day. We are pressing the button and listening to the dial tone while the evening light turns the kitchen a soft, dusty orange. We are not waiting for the world to be ready for us. We are making the connection now while the steam is still rising from the mug in our hand. We are finally turning our backs on that perfect financial report, leaving the spreadsheets to their own cold silence and choosing to be warm.